Good afternoon and welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. Delighted today to be welcoming Tom here. Hello Tom, how are you from Sortmove?
Good afternoon, Simon. Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, exceptionally well. You're looking far better presented than myself, but as always, I just apologise.
I heard this was quite a highbrow spotlight session.
Us prop tech geezers are allowed to get away with it, I believe.
Indeed.
Good stuff. Tom, Sortmove, give us a bit of a background, both about yourself and about the company, so that people obviously will understand where we're going over the course of the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll start by talking about myself, if that's okay, because being an ex-estate agent, we're all about blowing our own trumpet, aren't we?
You're on the right show. You're on the
right. So I joined Sort Group about 15, 16 months ago or so, having spent 16 years at LSL. So I wore many hats. I think I've pretty much got the whole T-shirt collection from my experiences there. I started off managing branches for Redrains, including opening a flagship store in Manchester city centre. Did that for 8 years. Ended up taking an underperforming branch to the Esters within a 15-month period. After doing that for 8 years, I was presented with the opportunity to look after the conveyancing operation for Redrains. So that was something that I was particularly passionate about because I understood the advantages and how to portray those to our clients in utilising those services, when to use them, and how they would affect and impact the transaction. So yeah, looked after that. We upped the penetration rate during my time, and then towards the end of my tenure there, we created an in-house client onboarding service, which is what I'm trying to emulate now here at Sort Group, and the Sortmove brand in particular. So if I switch my attention to Sort Group, I think one of the important things to get across first and foremost is we're not one of the new boys on the block. So Sort Group has existed for 11 years. So that was born in 2009. So our CEO, Kevin Tunnicliffe, he's got an extensive financial services background. He was disenfranchised with the ancillary services market when he was a mortgage broker back then. So he thought, I know, I'll start my own and make it much better than anything else that's out there. So fast forward a few years, that is now the brand is known as Sort Refer, and that is multi-award winning year after year, both for its legal services, marketing and technology, and we've got mortgage brokers coming back to that time and time again. About 4 years ago, Group decided, rightly or wrongly, to start its own law firm. So we have Sort Legal, which is our own CLC practice. Now this also gives us a different slant, if you like, for agents, because Sort Legal is purely B2B. So we're only handling work that comes in from our referrers. So that means we've got synergy with our partners that provide business to us. So it's not just about the end consumer; it is actually about the referral network that provide the work to us. So we don't lose sight of how we need to communicate via those channels. So I think that gives us a nice little edge, because it helps us to better control capacity, which is a bit of a hot potato at the moment, particularly with the spike in cases that we're seeing because of the stamp duty gold rush, and gives us different lines of management throughout that structure as well. So we're able to nurture and grow good relationships through that line.
How difficult is it to stand out from the crowd there in a conveyancing sense? Because is it easy? Are agents, do they ask the right questions, or
do they ask the right questions to clients? You mean?
Well, yeah, to find out from the conveyancers themselves. Do they do they get after the right metrics? Are they just worried about the amount of money that they might make? Are they, on the whole, do you find that they ask the right questions in terms of how many, what numbers of cases the staff members look after? What are the actual times spent? What are the actual times achieved and everything else? How do you?
I think, unfortunately, the honest answer to that is I don't think a lot of agents have taken the time to better understand that side of the industry. If I think back to my days at LSL, but also what I'm experiencing now with independents, is a lot of them just haven't taken the time to get to know their conveyancing partners, and I think that's a really important thing to establish from the start, because I think both sides need to understand what each other does. So I think there's a lot of it. This will come down to training within estate agent operations, but I think unfortunately there's a lot of say entry-level negotiators who maybe haven't got a full grasp of the process, and it can be quite frustrating, I think, to a fee and a case manager at a law firm when the first phone call comes in from a referrer asking if it's ready to exchange yet, and there's probably not even a mortgage offer or something like that on the table yet. So I think critically understanding what each other does. And I think I'd say the same about conveyance as well. Understand what that estate agent is doing and actually how they can be helpful. So I think there's still a lot of conveyancers out there that probably don't utilise the estate agency staff to their advantage. Because the good agents out there will get involved, and they will collaborate with their law firm partner. So I think it's just about that understanding between all parties, and if they get that right and make that click, they'll have a successful relationship.
Okay. That's interesting. And so talk us through again some of the services that you've got at the Sort Group.
Yeah, so as I say, Sort Refer is for mortgage brokers.
Yep.
So we've got some nice remortgage products and things like that, as you would expect. So Sort Legal then handles a good number of remortgage and transactional cases. Now Sort Move, which I head up, and I joined to drive forward, wasn't always called Sort Move. So when I started, the brand was called Agent Butler, for anybody out there that may remember that name. Now, the Agent Butler had some of the same suppliers on as the Sort Refer panel in terms of conveyancers and surveyors and other things. But what I wanted to try and create straight away was a bit of clarity between the two services, some clear distinctions. And the problem with Sort Refer was it was heavy with suppliers that liked dealing with brokers, which can sometimes be very different from dealing with estate agents. So given my background, I've got a lot of conveyancing friends out there who love working with estate agents. So first and foremost, it was looking at changing the suppliers and integrating some agent-friendly law firms. Secondly, was the rebrand. So I wasn't too fond of the kind of butler image, which does come across as a bit Victorian and single sex and not really it fits in today's modern world. But also, and this might go against the grain a little bit from some other providers out there, but it did have a concierge service. Now, I'm not a fan of that personally, and also I know others that have tried it and it's not quite worked out for them. So that concierge style service would be where we have employed teams within Sort Group, where agents can send leads through, and we would engage with the client to try and convince them to use the conveyancing survey report, etc. Now, the historical problem I found with that, and I saw it myself at LSL because we tried it in one or two different ways, was that it just created a bit of lazy estate agency.
Okay.
In that we were getting very cold leads coming through, customers thinking, "Who are you? Why are you calling me?" Why isn't my estate agent telling me about these things? And that resonates really well with me because of my experiences when I was operating estate agency branches as well. I liked the control of connecting those pieces of the transaction together myself. Maybe a little bit too over controlling, but I think a lot of estate agents are a little bit like that. They like to keep a grasp on it so they can keep their own eyes and ears for what's going on within that transaction. So yeah, rather than saying, oh great, there's somebody else that can deal with that, I'll just ping a message over with a name and a telephone number on there, and it's not warm, and it just sets the whole thing off on the wrong foot. Yeah. So our agency partners that we work with, I will talk to them about the best ways of incorporating the conversation, when to pick up on, when is the best time to talk about conveyancing with a seller, when is the best time then to pick up the conversation with the buyer, because buyers can be harder to convert because they're not the natural client of the agent. So that was one thing that I looked to take out straight away, because I was looking at the numbers through that, and the hit rate on it was, it wasn't where it needed to be, and I knew why, and that was because of the quality of the leads coming through.
And Tom, just on that, how kind of how much did you have to refine that? Is it a bit of a black art? Everyone talks about the knowing the right time and everything else. Yeah. There, does it really make that much of a difference? By just shifting the emphasis on and the timing of it.
I think it does, and I think what it boils down to is adding value to your core proposition. Now, this is something that I talk about with agents quite a bit. Because I remember when I was up against competition in the marketplace, and it's like it is dog eat dog. Everybody is trying to claim to be the best estate agent out there. Everybody's printing off their portal graphs about how many they've sold over the past 12 months, and
love a good portal graph.
Well, agents do. I'm not convinced that clients do. Yeah. And if I'm honest, if putting the client shoes on, I don't give a monkeys about how many properties somebody sold. What I want to know is, how can you, Mr. or Mrs. Estate Agent, help me right now with my circumstances? Yeah. Flogging a different style property 10 times over the past month, that means nothing to me. So it's about it is about being different as an estate agent, not trying to be better than the competition, because everybody's trying to do the same thing and claim that they're doing it better. It's about being different, and that was the stance I took when I was operating. I was pretty much the only one talking about conveyancing and other services in market appraisals, and I got really good feedback from clients, because they said to me, "Do you know what? You're the only one that's talked to me about that. You're the only one that said actually what happens once I found a buyer and what it takes to navigate to get through to exchange and completion beyond that."
And it's amazing how often we overestimate how much vendors know about the whole process, don't we? There is such a demographic out there that need hand-holding, even where you think they kind of should have known this. So to be able to put their minds at rest that yes, look, this is a quite, in some areas, an arcane system, but actually we're the people to hold your hands right, is still very important, isn't it?
It is, and that's why I firmly believe that estate agent is the best person or people to hold their hands. As a client, I don't think I'd be too thrilled about somebody from a third party company ringing me up to talk about those services. I'd be thinking, well, as I said before, why hasn't the estate agent told me about that? And straight away, I think they've missed a trick there by not creating that really good rapport with the client. About stating, right, well, this is how long on average a property takes to find a buyer. This is how long on average it takes to get through to completion once a buyer's found. Here's what we do to influence the timings. Yeah. That is about the suppliers that they are collaborating with, the timings of when certain events should occur. So the obvious one for me at the moment, and I suppose a bit of breaking news live on this session is, we've got our Fast Start digital seller onboarding proposition going live today, which I think you've got a little video to play over.
You want to pop it up?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind popping that on now. So, so this is something that I've always been a big advocate of with sellers.
Yeah.
And that is addressing some of the documentation and early stages of the legal work earlier in the process. And it's the right time to do it when a property comes on, because you just eliminate some of the little niggles that can cause delays in the transaction. So making sure that you have got signatures from all parties whose names on the title, and getting the protocol documents filled in straight away. So we've got our online TA 6, 10, and 7 if needed. We're integrating with Land Registry, so we'll grab the title and check that over. Also, we're partnering with Credas and doing biometric checks and AML as well. And the beauty of that part is, if the client gets that done on day one, then the agency can utilize that for their own compliance instead of getting that at their own cost.
Yeah, great.
So that comes part of the proposition, and we've got a document uploader as well. So anything that the client mentions in terms of, for example, new windows, they've got the opportunity to upload the FENSA certificate and drop that in. That's all held electronically. And we've got a support team here at Sortmove that we're going to be growing, of home move advisors, who part of their task will be to monitor the return rate of these packs, so we can make sure that clients are getting these done and return in good time, all digitally, of course, so there's no lengthy paperwork or anything like that. So really simple and easy to use, and what that will do is they should be able to turn around that in quick time. I've been through it a few times myself. Only takes about just over an hour or so to get all the documents completed and go through the selfie ID checks and things like that, and getting all that done in place does a few things. Firstly, it shows motivation to a potential buyer. If a buyer's looking at 2 or 3 options maybe and thinking, which ones I'm more sure about, if they've got 2 houses that with different agents, for argument's sake, and they're going, do you know what, either one of them could actually be good enough for me. If they realise that the one of them had a really motivated seller that has got part of their process done and ticked off and underway, then they may see better assurance with that one going through, and may go for that option. I've seen that happen.
Why would you not, really? Wouldn't you?
And that will. So getting all that done will shave 3 to 4 weeks off the sales progression time.
Fantastic, isn't it? I mean, really impressive.
Yeah, but the bit that's really important about all of that, though, is the agent incorporating that as part of their proposition. Because if they don't, so they're just going to be like the crowd, just talk about themselves and how what price they're going to get for the property and how they're going to find the buyer. But those steps now, given how long it is taking on average now for transactions to get through, given what the national fall through rate is, it's really important to talk about these things in the home. And given my background and my experiences, I've got little strap lines and techniques that I'm quite happy to talk to business owners about that want to review how they talk about these services. In the home.
So that's very much, as you said, leaning on your redrain days from LSL, changing the rules almost of the engagement, isn't it? To change them to KPIs that, while still easily understandable, are demonstrably important to the vendor. So and actually will instantly I could imagine, act as a bit of a depth charge for the next agents. If they haven't got their A game together there, they're going to look very woolly, aren't they, in terms of not being the property expert they pretended they're going to be.
Exactly, and you touched on it before with what estate agency clients want at the moment. I think what's really important to remember is access of information. Because if somebody's unsure about what the process is, they can find it out quite easily without engaging with an estate agent or a law firm. So they're already armed with information, and perhaps they're waiting to hear from the estate agent that they want to choose. Right, here's my checklist. Which of these are these estate agents going to talk about? If it sounds like they're just talking about themselves too much and not telling me about how they're going to help me navigate through the process, maybe I'm not going to be interested in those ones.
Yeah, it was Josh Fegan, wasn't it? The Australian trainer started talking when he came over many times, changing that conversation piece to, how many days on the market. Okay, the Aussies have a lot of auctions going on, so it's easier there. Yeah. Changing that days on the market to actually sell the property, the percentage of asking price achieved there, things that straight away are instantly identifiable and, more importantly, comparable. So there's no hiding from it as well, which is the great thing about all this. And transparency can only merit those who should benefit as well, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Touching on the comparables piece. A technique that I used when I was valuing and talking about our services in the home was I didn't necessarily use. It is important to talk about comparable properties and pricing because that helps you against the right pitch to go in at. But my main tool that I used was, and I kept this updated so that it wasn't old information. I had a very simple laminated A4. It had four properties on it. 2 good examples, 2 bad examples. And it was a timeline across those of how long it took to find the buyer.
Yeah.
Once we found the buyer, how long it then took to get through to exchange and completion. The 2 good examples utilize our enhanced marketing and pedestal spotlights, whatever you want to call them, on the portals and things like that, and audio tours and floor plans, all those things that are talked about helping to achieve the best price in the best possible time. That is true if you are using them. But what I felt was important to show to potential vendors was that actually this is what happens when you don't use them as well. And there was a couple of examples of them taking longer to achieve that buyer. But then we talked about, right, we've got the buyer, what happens next? These 2 good examples, they utilise our in-house conveyancing service. Why did they use that? Because we start things earlier in the process. And on average, they went through 4 to 6 weeks quicker than the others. 2 bad examples, went and used their own local high street solicitors that didn't specialize in conveyancing. They took 18 weeks or so to go through. So it was showcasing the property that actually utilized what we're talking about and the impact that it had on timings. And if you talk about those and present that level of information in the right way, you are pitching yourself about the competition. And I think that's a lot more powerful than a look at me pie chart.
Yeah, I like the whole approach of the kind of what's hot and what's not. It's it's a nice way of getting across, isn't it, via the carrot or the stick? Which is the emotion that's going to resonate with the vendor there. And as you said, as long as it all holds together in terms of those comparables, it's got to work, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's let's talk about sellers. Now they should be easier to capture because they're going to be their clients anyway. So if they're going to list the property with them, why wouldn't they go through some of their other ancillary services as well? But as I said, I can help businesses with strap lines and things like that to help that. What I'm getting asked about most at the moment is how that they can not only convince more buyers to use the additional services, but how they can get buyers to speed up the various milestones. So things like, when are they actually going to appoint the conveyancer? When are they going to pay for searches?
Yeah.
So this is something that I looked at quite extensively over the years. Now, I guess this is another little exclusive coming out via this session is, we are now incorporating free buyer protection into all purchase conveyancing cases. Now, that does 2 things straight away for us. The first one is the obvious one. It protects the buyer. So legal disbursements, such as the search packs, survey outlays, any mortgage-related costs, any storage costs that may come in. As long as that's instructed before they've spent any money, they're covered for a 12-month period, and that cover is sound as long as it's not them pulling out of the deal. But the way to use something like that it's for me more important when putting that into practice. So if we think about a classic scenario with a buyer, an offer gets accepted. One of the first things they ask is, great, is that property now going to be taken off the market for me?
Yeah.
And that opens up a bit of debate about, well, you're the one that's agreed to buy it. So yeah, I guess technically we should be taking that off the market for you. Obviously, it's the seller's decision, but we don't want to make it that easy for them. We want to see some commitment and some action from that buyer. So we want them to be appointing their conveyancer. We want them to be paying for their searches, not waiting until they've got a survey back. So actually having a product like this, that can help add significant weight, if you like, and a bit of punch behind their offer, particularly if they're up against 2 or 3 other interested parties as well. So if they can say, look, I'm a more favourable buyer because I am going to get my conveyancing done straight away, I am going to pay for my searches straight away, and I'm happy to do that because I'm utilising the service that's backed by free buyer protection. So that's going to help the seller maybe accept that offer if it's an equal offer. And it probably will encourage them to take it off the market as well, if they're convinced, right, well, that buyer is motivated because they're spending money on it straight away.
Yeah, it's showing skin in the game again, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, and all these things help, which is what we're all about, is driving that time down that it takes. From that offer being accepted to getting through to exchange and completion. That's what I was all about for the in-house brands at LSL with Retrains and Your Move. This is what I'm all about now with independents. We want to get pipeline conversion back down below 3 months, and we want to half the risk, at least half the risk of fall through rate versus the national picture. And what we're doing and what we're building, and we've got loads of other value adds that we're looking on our roadmap. We're well on our way to achieving that for our partners.
Well, tweaking your model so that first of all you can help the agents win business, but then having a laser focus as well on decreasing that time to help turn around the pipeline is a really nice position to be in, isn't it? If you can keep those core activities, you're not going to go far wrong, are you? Given the resources that you've got in place. Yeah.
No, and can I ask you a question here, Simon? What's the one thing that I haven't mentioned yet?
Price?
No, it's related to the pound sign.
I don't know. Go and give me
referral fees.
Okay.
So there's a lot of businesses that go in there straight away thinking it's all about the referral fees. Yeah. For me, this is my outlook on it. I have never thought about the referral fee first and foremost from these ancillary products. I have looked at them as tools to getting more of my core business across the line more often. And if agents have that mindset, it's taken away from price. And if price isn't the mindset when talking to an agent, it doesn't become a problem when a client talks about, oh, you're a little bit more expensive than other people. Yeah, but let me tell you why. This is what we do and how we do it.
I think what's fascinating there is when you say that, it seems so obvious as well, because actually those agents that, some of them good friends of mine that tend to bounce around quite often between is they're tending to focus on that referral fee as the main element there. And unsurprisingly, they're not getting to the core issue of realistically why they should do you, are they? Yeah. It's really
exactly. So we're not about giving little bits of income up front as a sweetener or anything like that, because we don't want the focus to be on that. Because if that becomes the focus, then, as you say, the agents tend to forget a little bit about what the product does, what it's set out to achieve. That's what we're all about. So referral fees it's actually a bonus that they will earn a bit of income from it. But first and foremost, priority on the focus is what does that service do for that client? It's the client that's the most important person at the end of this. That client doesn't care about how much profit that agency is setting out to achieve via its ancillary services. It's the here and now. They do this once every 5, 8, 15 years, whatever it is. How is that agent going to help me right now?
And from the agent's perspective anyway, the big ticket item is obviously still protecting the fee and getting the property sold, of course. So, you can't just, as important as this is to some people's models, you've got to get those basics right. And it's clear that many conveyancers aren't because they are getting distracted by that old dollar sign, aren't they?
Indeed.
I've got I've got one of your clients here that we've just had. Encourage everyone as usual to go onto the people's landing pages and ensure them. We've got Leanne Fuller O'Grady here from Fuller O'Grady Estates. Excuse me, I've just blocked you for a minute. I think you can probably have a cup of tea.
It's all right. I'm sure nobody will mind.
So I'm sat on a pillow, so you can just see my cap. Love Sortmove. I've used Sortmove for a few months now. I have to say, when I set up my small estate agency up, I was worried about how I would get my clients speedy and professional quotes. With Sortmove, I can do these quotes, tailor them to each client, include my own branding, and offer them a unique platform. I love the updates I get for sales going through, and also the incentive is very good for each file completion. So what's interesting there is, although, as you said yourself, look, that's not the main raison d'etre there, Leanne's clearly very pleased even with that side of things. But the crucial was she was looking for a speedy service, and so she's got a win-win.
Yeah, so it's important for agents like that, and I suppose that leads on to who we want to work with a little bit. We're not interested in I suppose networks of my old background, if we put it that way. We're here for the kind of small to medium operation. So Leanne, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, is part of the Keller Williams network. So we partner with some agents within there. We've got some that come that are part of EXP. So that for that kind of self-employed model in particular, we sit nicely next to them because we are absolutely an extension to their micro business. So where they may not have the time and the motivation to look at these things, what we're talking about, we can do, like, as I say, like quick demonstrations, quick chat throughs about techniques and what works, and they can go off and do that and utilize it. So that, I mean, that's one example. We've got some hybrid operation that comes from us. We've got some classic traditional single office or 4 to 5 office networks that work with us at the moment, and it's a nice spread because it proves that we're not an operation that is perceived as being suitable for one type of estate agency business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make. So essentially, when we talk a lot on this about, some products are quite easy. They fit in with single office agencies and corporates alike, and there's very little difference. But there's plenty of ones that actually meet a certain demographic, whether that's place in the market, top end, volume, geographical, size of agency. What it sounds to me, though, is you're more concerned actually, rather than some of those aspects of just sharing the right values. If they're coming to you and they can see the value, as you said, what you can actually offer, and can then themselves portray that and communicate that to their own clients, then you're going to both be in a good place, aren't you, to actually to work together over the coming holy months and years.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that theme, one word that I use quite extensively is collaboration.
Thank you, Tom. Really
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll catch up. We'll stay in touch, and be good to hear from some of your end clients as well.
Lovely.